Hello, this is Yaakov Kronenberg from Jerusalem, and tonight we'll be doing another class in the series of classes on Sagittarius ascendant and Jupiter in the different signs. Tonight we'll be doing Jupiter in Gemini. Jupiter in Gemini, again, is an interesting combination. When you have Jupiter in Gemini, so the first house is going to be, Jupiter will be in the 7th house opposed to the first house. Alright, so when a person has the ruling planet in the 7th, it means very connected with other people. He wants to come before the strong desire to come before the public when you have the ruler of 1 in the 7. And it's a marriage type of thing, right? Because you have the ruling planet in the sign of marriage, in the marriage house. And so there's going to be a strong need to marry and to have yourself connected with another person. That you always see in the 7th when you have the ruler of 1 in the 7th. And it also brings the person, it rules in general, it also rules, also besides marriage, it also rules all partnerships, and it also rules open enemies. A lot of times a person, you find the enemies, just like in the Torah it says, if he found somebody, if he was good, then he found somebody who helped him. If he's not good, he finds an enemy. And so just like in marriage, you can have, the partner can be a helper or a herder. Also it can be in life in general, you find the people who are the open enemies from the 7th house. So a person has a lot of malefics, say, in the 7th house, they'll have a tendency to make enemies. When you have Jupiter in the 7th house, like in this case, so then Jupiter, it's good for partnerships, right? It's an excellent sign for partnerships and an excellent sign for marriage. Of course, here Jupiter is going to be in detriment in the 7th, right, in Gemini, but it's not so harmful because Jupiter is benefic, and Gemini is a mercurial sign, also not malefic by nature. It just makes a person very talkative, right? The person has Jupiter is expansion, and Mercury is speech. Gemini is speech. And so a person has Jupiter in Gemini, first of all, they're going to be excellent public speakers, especially in the 7th house. They love to come before the public and to talk. And so it's an excellent sign for communication, right? For communication. Actually, tonight we're going to see the chart of an actor who actually in the later part of his career, he was involved in narration. He narrated many, documentary films because he loves to talk and he has an excellent voice. And we'll come back to that in a minute. But when you have Jupiter in Gemini, it's a nice combination. It makes a person, of course, when it's a ruling planet, the person is going to be very intelligent, highly intelligent, because Jupiter and Gemini are both connected to the mind, right? Jupiter is the planet of wisdom, Gemini the sign of knowledge, and so it's going to be a strong desire for knowledge in the person who has that combination. Of course, you're going to have to look at the state of Mercury in the horoscope. It'll give you a better idea of how the person is going to use that Jupiter. And so again, like we said, in the 7th house, it's going to be there's going to be a strong desire to come before the public, because the 7th house rules the public, and it also gives an ability in business. Right? The 7th house, the 7th house loves to communicate with people. It's a people house, right? The natural ruler in Adam Rishon's chart is Libra. And Libra is the sign of communication, of interaction, of human interaction. So a person who has the ruling planet in the 7th, they love to interact with other people. And they're always interacting, so it makes them very good also in business. Tonight I want to do the horoscope of a man famous actor, His name is Stacy Keach. I really don't know him, but I found him in the internet. I'm looking for charts, and I found his chart. And so he's a Jupiter, again, he's a Sagittarius rising with Jupiter in Gemini. The chart is a little bit distorted, so Gemini, the Jupiter really falls in his 6th house. So it's going to be a combination of the 6th house and the 7th house. Right? But in his chart, so the Jupiter is going to be falling in the 6th house, the house of health problems. And it's interesting, I was looking at his, I said, wow, he's got in the 6th house, and the Jupiter is in detriment. So a lot of times when you have planets in the 6th and 12th house, plus they're in detriment or fall, that's not such a great sign for health. And so I looked up his chart, I looked up his, health situation, and it seemed like when he was young, when he was born with what they call a cleft lip, right? And he had to have a number of operations till he could fix it. So when he was young, he had to go through a number of operations. So you see that with that Jupiter in detriment, and Jupiter is also conjoined to it's conjoined really to two malefics, the Uranus and Saturn. Right, which would make Uranus, of course, make something unusual about the person. Jupiter is going to be connected to his appearance because it's the ruling planet. It's connected with his ascendant, which is the appearance. And it's also loosely opposite the ascendant. It's in the opposite sign of the ascendant, so it's going to impact on the ascendant. And so when you have Jupiter there, it makes... when you have Uranus there, so it makes something unusual about the person's appearance. And also Saturn there doesn't help for the health in your health. And Uranus and Saturn are both in the sign of Taurus, which rules the mouth, of course, and the lips. So you see it there. But he was lucky, he's a man, and so he grew a mustache, and it never interfered with his acting career, never interfered with his life. And so, because again, like I say, Jupiter in Gemini is not, you don't consider it particularly bad, because they're both, you got a good Jupiter, Jupiter is an excellent planet, and Gemini is an excellent sign. And so I'm sure it upset him when he was young, but as far as impeding his acting career or anything like that, it didn't really. And you look at his chart, and you'll see that, again, we talked about the importance of marriage in his chart, and he's got his Jupiter there, and he's got working for the 7th, and he's got the Sun and Venus also in the 7th, and when you have the Sun in the 7th, it makes you very, very, your ego is very connected with who you're married to. And Venus, even though Venus is a benefic, it's a little too much in the 7th house. It gives a person a roving eye. It makes him hard to stick with one woman. And when you're in acting and you have millions and millions of dollars, so it's easy to take up on your thing. And so I think he's had at least 3 or 4 wives too. I'm beginning to think from all these charts I've been doing that it's not only from the horoscope, but it's something that's, it looks like it's an occupational type of illness. And so, like I say, the multiple marriages, it seems like it's a side effect actually of the job that the person's in, as much as the horoscope. But here you see it because he's got 3 planets. 2 of them, you would think in this chart it should be fairly good for marriage because he's got the 2 benefics plus the Sun there. But it didn't exactly work out that way because of the 3 planets, they are disposited by Mercury, which is in the 8th house, so each marriage probably cost them lots of money. Right? You see that the marriage partner is gonna sort of take his money. And so it's an interesting combination. And you see he's got in the career chart, in the career house, he's got Neptune on the top of the chart with the moon, and he's got 3 planets in the 7th, which again, the strong presence of the person and the strong interest in a career in the arts because of Neptune on the ascendant. And the moon, the desire to come before the public. The moon in the 10th and the sun, both lights, very powerful chart. And I thank everybody for listening.